Thank you. I'd just like to ditto what Julie said about thanking everybody, but I'd also like to thank three people, or two people if you believe that Kim Maltman and Rue Borson are one soul divided by two warring bodies. I'd like to thank them, to whom the book is dedicated, and also Harry Matthews, who wrote poetry and a paragraph, the first paragraph of an imaginary novel for this novel. And Kim is in fact going to be my watch and timer, kitchen timer, Kim and timer, and he will let me know when 5 minutes is over. And so tell me when to start, Kim. Tell me when to start. There was once a book reviewer named Alexander Baddeley, though he thought, as reviewers often do, that reviews were meant to be corrosive in order to be true. He was too much the lover of words to be cruel or condescending, dismissive or unkind. To make up for his failings, Baddeley sometimes flaunted his own willfully acquired quirks as if they were marks of deep feeling. For instance, he inevitably ate a single Brussels sprout and vanilla yogurt for lunch, and he refused to take the subway because he was afraid of snakes. He was afraid of neither snakes nor subways. None of this helped his reputation, though. Among the very few who cared about book reviews, Baddeley was known for his bland diction and his so-so mind. In a word, he was unsuccessful. Still, at the heart of the man there was a longing to be better, to be more acute, deeper, more understanding, and this almost palpable longing made his company desirable to others. It inspired sympathy and a certain amount of pity as well. Among those who pitied him was the book editor of the Globe and Mail, Leo Martinson, a man who once a month assigned Baddeley a book to review, thus assuring him of the $300 that were the basis of his income. To earn the money he needed for food, because his rent in Cabbagetown was exactly $300 a month, Baddeley reviewed other books elsewhere and sold his review copies to second-hand bookshops as soon as he had done with them. In this way, he made a minuscule living, eating little, and going nowhere that cost money. As concerns Baddeley's sensibility, there is one more thing to say, but it is the most important thing. Alexander Baddeley would not sell the books of Avery Andrews. These he kept in a squat glass-fronted bookcase in his room at the boarding house. The 7 books of poetry Avery Andrews had written shared space with a King James Bible, a complete Shakespeare, a Shrunken White, a Roget's, and a concise Oxford Dictionary. These books were Baddeley's valuables, held behind shatterproof glass, secured to his desk, locked against the vagrants who from time to time wandered in off the street and ransacked the rooms of the house where Baddeley lived. The books of Avery Andrews, First, After First, More, Again More, Still More, More 2, and More 3 were, despite their bewilderingly mundane titles, treasured in those circles where poetry had any standing at all. Even among Andrews' most fervent admirers, however, Baddeley was exceptional. He had memorized every one of the 500 poems Andrews had published. He knew those that were considered canonical, as well as those that were merely brilliant. Baddeley's love for Andrews' verse was an undimmable light in his soul, and he would have done anything to meet the poet. In his desire to meet Avery Andrews, Baddeley was not alone. No one had seen Andrews in a long time. Few could remember him save for one of his high school classmates who did not so much remember Andrews as he did the blank in his memory where at some point Andrews must have been. Avery sitting beside him in class, Avery drinking from a water fountain, Avery winning an award for physics. Whatever the reason for his withdrawal from society, Avery Andrews had not allowed a photograph of himself to be taken in decades, had not granted an interview, and had not collected any of the awards his poetry had won. Andrews's auteur appealed to most of his readers. To them it seemed fitting that the writer of almost glacially perfect work should live beyond the world, inaccessible. Andrews's attitude was particularly appealing to Baddeley. It was superb in a way Baddeley imagined himself emulating if he had half the talent of Andrews. He revered Andrews' silence, but like all fervent admirers, there was something behind the reverence. There was the conviction that, should they ever meet, he and Andrews would understand each other. Also, Baddeley was working on what he hoped would be a magnum opus, a critical study entitled Time in Mr. Andrews, Cronus in the Poetry of Avery Andrews. The title alone had cost him a few white nights. He had agonized over its every word and diacritical mark. Yes, Baddeley wanted Andrews' approval, but even better would be Andrews' involvement in an interview, say, something to let his admirer know that Time in Mr. Andrews was not wrong-headed. Unfortunately, Baddeley had no idea how to go about contacting the poet. Andrews' publisher refused to pass on the least scrap of correspondence, nor were they impressed by Baddeley's credentials as a reviewer. It did not seem to trouble them that they were denying Andrews access to a careful and committed reader. Without the help of Andrews' publisher, contacting the poet seemed unlikely. But the key to finding Avery Andrews was nearer to hand than Baddeley imagined. It was in the person of his friend Gilbert Gil Davidoff, who, just as a matter of thing, is David Gilmour. Davidoff, a mediocre novelist who thought highly of himself, was a compulsive womanizer. Among the women who had given himself to... Oh, thank you.